Final event, Hafthor Bjornsson with a 6-point lead over Martins Licis. Licis is going to have to win this event and probably get a lot of help if he wants to jump Hafthor Bjornsson and win the Arnold Strongman Classic. Event number 5 is the stone to shoulder, 410 pounds. They have 2.5 minutes to bring this from the ground to their shoulder. And when you're dealing with an odd object like this, there are a lot of keys you need to keep in mind.
Yes, first is reading the stone. You've got to be able to get the balance points, get your hands under the stone, and lift it off the ground and get it into a good position. In other words, get it up at least to your lap. And then the second point is that you need to have a position that you can lift it up to your shoulder. That's the point of this, is stone to shoulder. So turning the stone any way that you need to, feeling the balance of the stone, and then getting it up on your shoulder. The point about a natural stone is that it's not made to be lifted. It's just taken from nature, and it's not a barbell. So it's got its own idiosyncrasies, and you've got to go with what it gives you.
And this is the famous Ode Haugen tombstone. And last year, Mateusz Kowski put on a show with this thing. And Bill, we were talking about this in Santa Monica. That was one of the most impressive things that you said you have seen in a strongman competition.
Yes, after that unbelievable performance, I asked Terry Todd himself, what do you think? And he said, I've never seen anything like that. And I think everyone who was there agreed. He got that stone to his shoulder 4 times when the second-place finisher was only 1 time. And he did it in convincing fashion. He's been training hard to continue with that tradition that he's created for himself as a specialist in this event.
Kalish Kowski is definitely someone we will be keeping an eye on in this event. But remember, this is basically a 2-person race for the championship with Hafthor Bjornsson and Martins Licis, the only 2 men in contention to win the title of the 2019 Arnold Strongman Classic champion.
But I must say that this is a lot of street cred for these athletes. They have a lot of pride in their craft and what they do. They want to make sure that they finish very strong. And this is a very primal event that shows off a strong man's ability to adapt to an unusual object.
Now, other than Kalish Kowski, who are some athletes here in the field who should do well in this?
Well, Licis actually tied Kalish Kowski on the stone shoulder, but that was an Atlas stone. Mm-hmm. He was able to roll it up. There's a lot of tacky involved.
That was in Santa Monica.
That was in Santa Monica, the 2019, just a few weeks ago. But this is a different object. And Hafthor is an Icelander, and he's been training really hard with this. I have to say that Novikov showed us a little bit more with the natural stone with his carry. So odd objects and events that have a little bit of strength endurance, he's excelled in.
At the beginning of the day, we were actually talking as if Hafthor had a really good chance to win every single event. That has never happened. That was right before the Wheel of Pain. That's his only second-place finish so far in the competition. He tied for first with 3 other athletes in the Austrian Oak. But regardless, so far, this is one of the most dominant performances that we have seen in this competition.
Absolutely. Just 6 inches separated him from the other win with the Wheel of Pain. And the others, he's in first place or tied for first place. Such a dominant lead.
And that's a look at Ode Haugen, who is the owner of that stone that rests at center stage. The 5th and final event. Haugen taking a seat. Now, Martins Licis is the only man who has a mathematical chance of catching Hafthor Bjornsson. And he is someone who likes to build momentum, and he has certainly done that here in this competition. Back-to-back first-place finishes in the Wheel of Pain and then the Austrian Oak.
Absolutely. What he does is he stays in the events. He doesn't let the leaders get too far ahead of him. He's strong in every event, and he doesn't let his inconsistencies get in his way.
Alexei Novikov is up first, and if you are just joining us, he missed the prior event because he was being checked out by the medical staff because of an injury. They had to clear him before he was allowed back in the competition. And he has had an impressive performance here as well. Novikov making his first ever appearance at the Arnold Strongman Classic. He won the amateur competition last year. He is just 23 years old, and what we have seen from this kid would indicate that he has a very bright future ahead of him.
Yes. He's just cleaning the stone off with this cloth that's got a little bit of pitch on it, but tacky is not allowed to be used. At this point, I'm not going to count him out on any event because he's shown us a lot.
He's putting a little tack on his
He will have 2.5 minutes to bring that stone from the ground to his shoulder as many times as he can.
Notice the shirts that the athletes are wearing. They have sticky on the front. They're gripping shirts for stone lifting.
You can see.
We will only be counting full repetitions here on the score. They get 1 point for bringing it to their laps, and then they will get 2 points to getting it to their torso.
This kid just 300 pounds.
Now 2 points.
410 pounds. Fighting to get it to his shoulder. You want to see it get up?
Now trying to get it to his shoulder. Alexei Novikov struggling with the stone. Almost had it, and he will have to drop it. But he has 2 points, and he cannot re-earn those 2 points.
For getting it to the torso. You cannot repeat
that was very impressive.
That is 2 points. The only way to get more points now to get it onto the shoulder. And
so this weighs more than 100 pounds on his body weight.
And this is
impressive opening effort for Alexei Novikov. He almost had that stone to his shoulder. And you wonder, had he not been held out of that prior event, we don't know what he would have done with the Austrian Oak, but he might be in contention for one of the top 3 spots at this point.
Absolutely.
Here's his second attempt. He has 2 points already.
Now with that first attempt, he got to feel the stone. Got a better approach.
Bounce it. There you go.
Novikov getting some coaching from Mark Henry, who's doing the public address announcing on the stage, and just can't bring it to his shoulder.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's heavily constructed. Rogue makes the best equipment in the world.
Remember, 2.5 minutes for him to do as many reps as possible.
We have not had it roll out to the floor yet.
This stone does want to roll away from you. Notice how it's very smooth as well.
And you can see the battle.
Alexei Novikov is a good mixture of brains and brawn. He has a master's degree in international economics, and he works as a business and financial advisor when he's not training and competing.
For Alexei Novikov, this rookie from Ukraine.
Still trying to get that stone to the shoulder for the first time, and this is his third attempt.
He's using a technique we'd call a top roll. So he's getting it roughly to his knees, and he's rolling it back. Great effort, though.
And he's going to call it, and he will have 2 points for getting that stone to his torso. So not the finish he wanted here in the final event, but still overall an impressive performance in the 4 events in which we got to see him compete.
He got it up in good position. He just needs to roll it a little bit. He looks like he was going for his left shoulder. Maybe if he dropped that left hand, or go to his right shoulder, maybe if he dropped that left hand a little more, he could have gotten it up onto his shoulder. That sounds easy, but this is an unbelievable event.
Remember, that's 409 pounds, 186 kilos. Here's Mateusz Belshak out of Slovenia. His best finish, 4th place in the Wheel of Pain. That was the 3rd of these 5 events. That was contested earlier today. Belshak looking to improve on his 2018 finish at the Arnold Strongman Classic. He took 6th place overall at that event.
If I remember correctly, last year he got the stones to his shoulder, but it rolled backwards and over his shoulder. He can get this onto his shoulder.
Magnus Magnuson is the head judge. He's at the bottom left hand of your screen. He needs to give the athletes a signal in order for them to drop it for the rep to count. And Belshak making his way to the shoulder.
Looks like he's got it.
And he did get the signal from Magnus Magnuson as you saw him extend his free hand and show control. So 1 rep so far from Mateusz Belshak. Great start.
You know, he was waiting from last year when he had it up to his shoulder and it rolled off the back. He's so close. He's got it now. One thing about these historic implements, once they start to be seen in competition after competition, it's like a notch in your belt if you could say, I've shouldered that stone or I've pressed that log. This is also a grip component. We talk about the different components of strongman, being strength endurance, also being static event, also being grip event. This actually embodies all 3. You have to have a great grip to get the stone to your lap and up to your body. It's an endurance event that you have to actually use time to get it up to your shoulder. And it's also a static event that you're standing on your feet. This is a great event.
And Belshak is going to give this one more run. He had one good lift.
I also noticed that he's wearing lifting shoes. Last year, I don't believe he was wearing lifting shoes, and it rocked, and the stone pulled when he pulled it back, and it went over the back of his shoulder. I bet he calculated that bit into his scheme this time as well.
And now Belshak just having trouble finding a grip on this thing. It's just each attempt takes so much out of you.
Yes, well, what happens is, notice how he really struggled to get it up to his knees, and then he could rock it back. This is a grip issue now. Think about it. They've been competing all weekend. These guys are showing a little bit of fatigue. And once your grip is gone, it's gone.
And regardless how you read it, if you read it correctly, if you don't have the grip, you're just not going to pick that thing up.
Correctly.
There's a reason that you saved the hardest things for last.
15 seconds.
Final seconds now is about 15 seconds to go for Belshak. And after a successful lift, he's had trouble just getting it to his lap. And he is done. So one good repetition for Mateusz Belshak as he closes out his 2019 Arnold Strongman Classic.
That's the second best anyone's ever done with this stone. Getting one rep is a huge accomplishment. Rocked it up. He's been training. Got his leverage underneath it. Put his hand out. Got clearance to put it down. Okay.
Here's the man we've wanted to see get his hands on this stone. Mateusz Kalish Kowski tied for first, one of the four men to put the Austrian oak over his head twice in the last event. And last year, he put on a show with the Oudhaugen tombstone.
Yes, he did. He's actually been shouldering a stone that weighs 485 pounds.
This is his first attempt, and he just rips that off the ground.
Should be looked at as somebody that does magic because he makes it look so easy.
He's feeling the pressure of being able to perform on this event because he did such a great thing last year with this stone.
And there is one rep for Kalish Kowski. If he breaks his own record of 4 repetitions, he'll walk away with $5,000. One good repetition down for Kalish Kowski. Here's his second attempt.
He just comes right off. Wow.
And that will be 2, and he barely looks taxed.
He's read this stone. He knows exactly what he's going to do, and then he gets the body position to get it up to the top of the chest, hitches his shoulders and his hips together, and gets under that stone.
Third attempt for Kalish Kowski.
This also requires tremendous upper body strength. A lot of shoulder strength that people don't understand shouldering a stone, because from here you've got to be able to hold it close to the body and then push it up.
And that will be 3 good reps for Mateusz Kalish Kowski. And he still has a minute to go. Remember, he has the record. It was 4, and he did it last year.
Okay, we're going to watch again this next attempt. This will tie his best. He's going to get his hands on it. He's going to push his feet down. Get it to his lap. He's got that right hand in a great position to hold on to the stone.
And Kalish Kowski once again putting on a clinic. 4 good reps.
He's lifted this stone 8 times total. The second place man ever to ever lift this stone's only done it once, and this is something that he's just got this event down.
Just a few more seconds to go. Kalish Kowski has time for one more attempt and possibly break his own record. This would be his 5th good rep. Kalish Kowski has a new record, 5 reps with the Oudhaugen tombstone.
Wow.
Incredible.
This young man's been dreaming about this night in front of the big crowd, getting to show what he is best at, shouldering a massive stone.
Unbelievable for Mateusz Kalish Kowski, who last year had 4 good repetitions. That was a record. 1 year later, he beats it by a full rep.
So he gets his hands under the stone. He pushes his feet down and lets his upper body stay pretty quiet and gets it up to his lap. Gets it up, that he doesn't even really put it to his chest. He just puts it right up onto his shoulder.
Kalish Kowski looking for his second straight first-place finish in an event. We knew the events early on, like the deadlift, didn't favor him, but, man, these last two have been in his wheelhouse. $5,000 for that man, and right now he has a large lead, but he was only the third man out. Now here's Rano Heinle. Heinle struggling just to bring that stone to his lap.
Well, the first thing you've got to do is read the stone correctly. Reading means that you can understand where the balance points are and get your hands under the stone. The other thing is that this is not on turf or sand or ground. This is on a pretty hard rubber mat, so you got to be careful with your hands not to allow them to get under that stone and get pinned against that mat. So a little bit of a gamble when you get your hands under that stone and this surface.
Heinle a little frustrated after that last attempt after it slipped out of his hands. Remember, it is 1 point to get it to your lap, 2 points to get it to your torso.
He got it to his high chest last year, I believe, and kind of struggling here because he was quite good at it last year for his first time seeing the stone. But also last year, this wasn't the last event.
Kalish Kowski Heinle having all kinds of problems, and he's going to call it and walk off. No reps, no points for Rano Heinle. And he quickly exits, and Mikhail Shivlikov will be up next.
This really shows the human drama that goes into athletics, and particularly with strongman. You can see that he was somewhat disappointed with that performance.
Well, if you're Martins Lisis, you're hoping some of your fellow competitors can rack up some scores, because not only does Lisis need to win this event, he's going to need to get some people to beat the mountain in the process as well. If Hafthor Bjornsson, as you take a look at what Mikhail Shivlikov has done during this competition, if Hafthor Bjornsson finishes 6th or better, he clinches.
Yes, and so that was a very important result for Rhino because he did not get the stone off and did not score 1 point. So if one or two other athletes do not get the stone off the ground, Hafthor even laps it, he scores a point, and that could put him in a position to actually just claim this. But I know that Hafthor's been training with shouldering stones, and he wants to get this up several times.
But first, it's this man, Mikhail Shivlikov, out of Russia, the Siberian Force, 2.5 minutes with that 409-pound, 186-kilo stone.
He was able to get a shoulder attempt he was able to shoulder the stone last year. Really struggling to get his grip. He's got the read on it, he feels like, because he can tell he's pretty confident where he needs to pull on that stone.
Shivlikov now for his second attempt. Decides to turn it and take a different approach now.
There are no edges in that left hand. See how that's all smooth? There are no edges on that.
Having trouble finding his grip.
And unlike an Atlas stone where you can tack up or get your forearms more engaged in the stone, this is really all in your hands.
And an Atlas stone is perfectly round. Very easy to read that type of object.
Yes, and it's also made to be lifted. This stone was not made to be lifted. Stones are defiant. That's the difference between objects that are made to be lifted.
And now Shivlikov is done, and that really now puts the pressure on Martins Lisis.
Yeah, so
he has got to beat Mateusz Kowski's mark of 5, or at least tie it if he wants any chance to beat Hafthor.
Yes. But it would also take Hafthor, I think, pretty much not even getting it off the ground.
So Lisis watching his chances sort of fade away here, but he's still going after this thing.
Off the ground pretty quickly. He had a good read on that stone. He had the hand strength to get it up. Exact same technique. Now, I remind you that he trains with Ode Haugen, and this is the Ode Haugen stone. He has seen this stone before. He has trained this stone before.
Lisis with one good rep so far. The mark to beat in this event is 5, and that is a record. So if Lisis is able to shoulder this thing 6 times, $5,000.
More importantly, he'll gain points in the competition. I think that's what he's really after.
And that is 2 for Martins Licis. And now the stone is off the stage. So this is going to be an issue, and I think that's the first time this has ever happened.
I think they're really going to probably, if there was a clock to be stopped.
The Licis now is waiting. We don't know if they've stopped the clock. But you would think they would, as now basically everybody in a blue Rogue shirt, all the members of the crew are going to come out here and try to haul this thing back up to the stage. They have a net with which to do it. You see it there. And now the stone is back to where Licis can get started again.
And they're doing it quickly because they've stopped the clock. Jan Todd on the stage, Dr. Jan Todd, to say, okay, we've stopped the clock, but they want to do it quickly so that he doesn't get too much rest and it affects the event itself.
The Licis' grip now starting to slip. He has 2 good reps. Remember, the mark to beat is 5. That was done earlier by Mateusz Kalish Kowski, and that's a record. And Licis with that stone back to his lap, so this will be a point if he can't get any more repetitions. And that will be 2 as he got it to his torso.
He says he's done.
And it looks like Licis is calling it.
Take your time. You got another minute.
He's got another
he's
minute.
Saying he is done. But they're trying to convince him to stay on. He does have plenty of time. But Licis might just feel like he doesn't have anything left in the tank. Thanking the crowd. And with that, this final athlete.
So he really got it to his lap quickly, and then the second phase of this he got it up to his chest quickly, and then pushed with his hips upward, just enough force to get it up onto his shoulder. And it's also a balance. You have to be able to balance and control the stone.
So one athlete remains, as Brian Shaw is not going to make an attempt. He and Jerry Pritchett and J.F. Carone don't make it to the final event. Carone had to withdraw after the first event. This is basically now a coronation for that man. Hafthor Bjornsson looking at his second consecutive Arnold Strongman Championship. Tied for first in the last event, won the first 2 on Friday, and then a second place by just 6 inches in the Wheel of Pain, and this is his first attempt.
So just to reiterate, he's an Icelander. Lots of stones there. He's got a tattoo on his calf of Jan Paul Sigmarsson with a stone on his shoulder. This is for pride. He's left-handed. He's going to go to his left shoulder.
That'll be 2 points as he has it to his torso, now trying to work it to his shoulder. Bjornsson trying to find the balance point. Extends his arm, and that will be 1 good rep.
That ties him for second. That's it.
Is going to do it. And now it's about putting on a show for the crowd.
Hafthor knows that he's already placed.
Taking a victory lap. May not make another attempt.
And it's in the bag.
And Hafthor Bjornsson once again. He is the mountain among men. He is your 2019 Arnold Strongman Classic Champion.
Can I ask you a question?
He does it to his left shoulder, which is a little bit different than going to the right shoulder, the way the stone is shaped. So he did have to struggle a little bit more. He got it rested against his face, put his hand out, back down.
And then the celebration. 2 straight years. That man has stood above all other strongmen. Hafthor Julius Bjornsson, your 2019 Arnold Strongman Classic champion and the first man to do it in back-to-back years since Derek Poundstone did it in 2009 and 2010.
Now it's time to recognize a wonderful
Unbelievable performance for Hafthor Bjornsson. We knew he was the favorite coming in. We thought it would be Brian Shaw, who was the man who would push him for the lead. Shaw, the 2017 champion, the man who finished second in 2018. But Shaw was pretty banged up, never really a factor in the competition, and Hafthor Bjornsson is your champion.
Hafthor stands atop the strongman world, and I think that we're going to see more